And today we watch the Department of Education die. Led by a woman whose greatest career contributions include helping her husband cover up schmug abuse and rape charges. Led by a president who's been convicted of schmug charges, who we all know have issues. One of my old people stories is not going to be like, a pound of bologna was a quarter. It's going to be, in my day, we had a standard of education across the land. This is going to end in the torture of so many teachers. This is going to kill so many specialized education plans for students with needs. This is going to put such stress on schools. I live in New Jersey. My state will be fine. I worry more about the states that just won't have the capacity. I mean, yay, we're bringing education back to the state level. We can put the 10 Commandments in the front of the buildings now. Woohoo! If kids can't read the 10 Commandments, it doesn't matter if you're putting them in front of the building or not. And frankly, half the time those things you put up look like tombstones. I would assume they were just graves of two people with really long names, if I couldn't read, and frankly, even then. What kills me is it will be 20 years before we will get something like Department of Ed back. Is even if in 4 years we manage to get a rational president, every southern state will sue to not have to go back to a nationalized program. There are kids who, for their entire educational journey, will have no idea that there used to be a different standard. They will learn the whole, man rode dinosaur bullshit version of history, if they're taught history at all. Like, okay, ABC 1, 2, 3, get off to the meat processing factory. I mean, not the special kids, the elite athletes and whoever else they choose for the private academies. The chosen. The Lord said they were better. To the students and the teachers left in public schools, I admit I was never a big fan of public education. I hated the pace of learning. I hated half the books they made us read. Because if we're being honest, nobody ever read the books. Unless the books were being read to you, as soon as you figured out that Cliff Notes existed, you Googled it. You looked it up. You copied your, sister's paper from 3 years ago. If you polled half the people I went to school with, okay, what was The Lord of the Flies about? A lord who flew. I didn't even ask this question, but we were in geometry one day and everybody was frustrated with circumference, and somebody else raised their hand and was like, why do we need to learn this? And the explanation was, well, one day you might buy a house with a circular room and you'll need to carpet that room, and you'll have to be able to measure the circumference of your room to go to the carpet store to buy carpet. My little brain is still traumatized by that, because it was like, well, just don't buy a house with a circular room. Or have 1-800-EMPIRE come to your house and measure for you. Only one person would need to know circumference. Everybody else can just rely on the one guy who knows circumference. Had you just told us it would make us epic at pool in a few short years when we were off at uni, we would have kept learning. Later in life, I ended up being friends with quite a lot of public school teachers. I now get why they always looked a little frazzled and burnt out. I've seen the emails from parents. You guys should rot in hell for what you write to teachers. They don't actually work for you. Your little Timmy is just an asshole. But if you know a teacher, be kind to them today. Their entire industry just got decimated, and it's going to look the same, it's going to feel the same, but it's forever gone. All because Trump can't read so good, and he wants to make sure nobody else can either. Oh, and those religious fanatics that just want to turn us into uneducated slaves again. Rebellion is teaching your kids how to read and write and how to learn and how to think. And I know that's going to be really hard to do between, working 8 to 14 hours a day, plus trying to hold down a household and raise your kids, but please do everything you can to try to keep your kids educated. It is the only thing that will help them stay independent. Rage against the dying of the education.